Hey everybody, it's Molly with AllEars, and I'm here today with a brand new video. It is the 50th anniversary of Walt Disney World. Magic Kingdom opened up 50 years ago on October 1st, 1971. So for today's video, we're kicking it old school. We're going back to the Magic Kingdom of that opening day. I'm going to check out all of the opening day attractions, ride every single one of them. We're going to talk about what this park was like on opening day. I bet some of the attractions and definitely some of the prices will surprise you. I hope you're ready. I hope you're excited. Let's go back to 1971. Here you leave today and enter the world of yesterday, tomorrow, and fantasy. Again, we are kicking it back to opening day, October 1st, 1971, which is when Walt Disney World opened. It was dedicated a few weeks later by Roy O. Disney, Walt Disney's brother. Unfortunately, Walt Disney never lived to see Walt Disney World. He passed away 5 years before the parks opened. But his brother Roy came out of retirement to make sure his dream came true, and it was actually Roy Disney who named this Walt Disney World as opposed to just Disney World, because he wanted everyone to know that this was all the idea of a man and not just a company. Okay, I'm gonna be real with y'all for a second. I always love shooting new videos. I have a ton of fun, but I'm so excited to shoot this one because I am a huge Disney nerd, and I'm gonna share a bunch of my huge Disney nerd facts about how some of these things came to be, the history, the details, all kinds of fun stuff. I hope you're excited too. When the Magic Kingdom opened in 1971, they had 25 different attractions here in the park, and 16 of those are still alive in some form today, which is a pretty good track record. And general admittance to the park cost $3.50 for adults, $3.50 to get into the park. But that did not include your attractions. Back when the parks opened, they used ticket books with A through E tickets, A being your most basic attractions, E being your most technologically advanced, exciting attractions, which is where we get the phrase E-ticket. Still today that's used. You'll hear people discuss something and call it an E-ticket ride. That's because it would have cost the most to ride those attractions. So you had to buy these little individual ticket books, and then you would pay per ride with these attractions. The A tickets cost 10 cents, the B tickets cost 25 cents, the C tickets cost 50 cents, D tickets were 75 cents, and E tickets were 90 cents an attraction. So as I go throughout the park today, I'll let you know what each attraction was, and I feel like you're going to be surprised on a few of them. In addition to sharing some of those opening day attractions, we'll talk about some of the opening day shops and some little history tidbits. I hope you're really excited for this one because I am very excited to share some of my Disney nerd knowledge. Here is Roy Disney. This bench is oftentimes in the middle of Town Square, so it's aligned with Walt and Mickey on the other end down at the castle, but for Halloween they've moved it over. So here's Roy Disney and Minnie Mouse. The statue is called Sharing the Magic. One of my favorite Roy Disney stories is that he was the financial mastermind behind this company. Walt was the dreamer, Roy was the one that made it happen. But when they were planning Walt Disney World, they were very, very behind, and he realized it's because a lot of the construction crews kept looking at the clock. So he actually took out the clock on top of City Hall and put a sign there that said, remember, opening October 1st, 1971, so that anytime anybody stopped to look at the clock, they were reminded to get back to work. Thanks, Roy. You may have dined here at Tony's Town Square restaurant. This is that Lady in the Tramp themed restaurant here right in the middle of Town Square. But when this park opened, this did exist. However, it was just called the Town Square Cafe. And it turns out it was a lot cheaper to eat back in 1971. I'm sure that's not shocking to anyone. Prime rib on their menu, a whopping $4.25. As you can imagine, some of the entertainment we know and love is still happening, and it happened in the 70s as well. About to step off right now, one of my all-time favorite things in Walt Disney World, the Dapper Dans are about to step off on this carriage, and the Dapper Dans were a 1971 entertainment staple. They've been around at Disneyland forever, so you know your favorite barbershop quartet in the square radius of 2 blocks. They've been around since the 70s, since it all began.
Wide open spaces, I'm just like a prairie flower, growing wilder every hour. Everything's
and right now you can see the Dapper Dans either on the trolley like I just did, or perhaps up on the train station for distancing. But of course, prior to the closure, they would be moving their way up and down the street, singing those barbershop quartet classics. And you gotta love the Dapper Dans. What a great way to start this day. And we are here at our first attraction. The Main Street vehicles, including the omnibus, as well as the different Main Street vehicles that you can ride from Town Square down to Main Street on a one-way track, those were A-ticket attractions. Remember, your 10-cent attractions would get you 10 cents, could get you a ride on the omnibus or a ride on one of the Main Street vehicles. Now, up until the closure, these are still running and operating today. They still have several of the Main Street vehicles. Unfortunately, they're not operating right now. They haven't come back since the parks closed, but prior to the closure, you could still ride the Main Street vehicles or the Main Street trolley down the street in the mornings before it got really, really busy. They would offer them. Now, however, you can often see the Main Street vehicles being used in things like cavalcades or the rainy day cavalcade specifically. You'll see some of those vehicles. Perhaps one of the most, if not the most iconic attraction in Walt Disney World. When you think of Walt Disney, you probably think of this one. The railroad. Of course, the railroad was an opening day attraction. Walt Disney himself loved trains. He had one in his backyard, and that's why there is a railroad in every Magic Kingdom style park around the world. Of course, it originated in Disneyland. Oh, we have some friends coming to the train station. We should say hello. It'd be rude if we didn't. Hello, Aladdin. How are you? Hi, Moana. Thank you. Oh, hello, Mary Poppins. Hi, Peter Pan. Thank you. Hello, Gaston. Bonjour. Unfortunately, the train is currently closed due to the construction in Tomorrowland for Tron. They basically have to move the railroad tracks, but you can still come into the train station, learn a little bit about the different engines. There are 4 engines here at the Magic Kingdom, each one named after an important Imagineer or person in the Disney company. You've got the number 4 engine right here. This is Roy O. Disney's engine. This is Walt's brother. He, again, is the one that brought the Magic Kingdom and Walt Disney World to life. But what I want to tell you about the Roy O. Disney is that it is the oldest of the different engines. It was made in 1916. This engine is over 100 years old. Isn't that crazy? You've got the Roger E. Brogy. He was one of Walt Disney's Imagineers, loved trains as much as Walt did. That is the number 3 engine. Over this way, you've got the number 2 engine. This one is the Lily Bell, named after Walt's wife, Lillian. And then last but certainly not least, our number 1 engine, named after the man himself, Walt Disney. This is his engine here. Walt Disney, again, loved trains. A lot of important things in his life happened on trains. He and his brother Roy worked on trains, selling cigarettes and things to patrons. He thought of the idea for Mickey Mouse on a train, so gotta respect the trains. When I worked for Walt Disney World, I was a tour guide, and I gave the magic behind our steam trains tour, which meant I have operated the Walt Disney World Railroad around the Magic Kingdom in the overalls, in the engine. I have been the person operating the train. I've also been the conductor on the back making the announcements. All aboard! Because part of the training to give that tour meant you had to spend a day as a conductor and a day as an engineer at the front, which one of the coolest things I've literally ever done in my life. And if you're a train enthusiast or a Disney enthusiast, when that tour comes back, I highly recommend it. It's very early in the morning. It takes you back to the Roundhouse. You get up close and personal with the trains. Tours aren't back now, but for my Disney buffs, you gotta do that one. The train does do a full circle tour around the Magic Kingdom, and back in the day, it was a D-ticket attraction. So that's a pretty heavy hitter. That's a 75-cent attraction, but I think it's worth it. Also an opening day location, the Harmony Barber Shop right here. Unfortunately, it hasn't reopened yet, but you could, until the closure, still get your haircut there. They do a very cute baby's first haircut where your kids get a little Mickey ear and a little commemorative moment if you want to get your kid's first haircut there, but they also do adult haircuts. Not a lot of people realize that you could literally, I could get my haircut in the Magic Kingdom if I wanted to. As we head down Main Street USA, we are getting to our 3rd attraction already. We barely made it halfway down Main Street, and we've already hit 3 attractions. We've got the Main Street Cinema right here. It's been used for various things over the years, but when the park opened, this was a B-ticket attraction. So inside the Main Street Cinema, you could watch things over the years, different silent films, cartoons, Mickey shorts, all debuted in here. Now it is used as a different kind of shop. There are different things that will happen in here. Right now, the day I'm filming is the confectionery still closed, so they're using it as the confectionery, as one of you cleverly coined it. Prior to that, they were using it as an art gallery, but they do still show some old school Mickey cartoons in the back of the shop, and I love looking at the old school artwork right here. There's some concept art and different drawings of characters If you do go to Disneyland, they also have a Main Street Cinema, and there still is more like the original, where you will see different cartoons. It's actually dark in there, and they've got different screens with cartoons playing, so the original concept. But this was an attraction. One of my favorite places forever in Disney, of course, the Main Street Bakery. It has existed since the beginning of time. Of course, it wasn't always a Starbucks. That's actually a recent change that a lot of people weren't thrilled about. But Main Street Bakery has been serving up delicious baked goods and coffee since the beginning. As we wrap up on Main Street USA, of course, we've got everybody's favorite spot to get corn dog nuggets, Casey's Corner right here on one side of the street. Casey's Corner is actually not as old as you might think it is. It was originally called Refreshment Corner. It's still called Refreshment Corner over in Disneyland, but it was in the 90s when Casey's Corner took over. So it's actually not always been Casey's, which is interesting. When Magic Kingdom opened, this still was an ice cream parlor. The Plaza Ice Cream Parlor has been around for all 50 years, so when you get that delicious hand-scooped cone, it's like you're eating history. Honestly, that's how I like to think about it. And now that we're finished walking down Main Street USA, a couple of cool things I like to point out. One, look at the broad use of forced perspective, which is a Disney tactic to make things look taller than they actually are. None of these buildings are full-size two-story buildings, but the bottom floor is the only one that's actually to scale. If you look up, the second and sometimes third stories where they're applicable are actually much smaller than the first one, but your eye tricks you to think that it's a full 3-story building. Also, have you ever noticed that Main Street USA actually goes uphill? You can really tell right here, but a lot of people don't notice. That's for a few reasons. One, it makes the castle look bigger and more impressive when you walk in, using that forced perspective again. Two, it helps slow people down when they're first getting into the park. That way, if you're running to get on Space Mountain, you actually can't run as fast because you're going uphill. They don't want anyone to get hurt. But on the flip side of that, when you're leaving the park, when you're tired and your feet hurt and you've been here all day and you're trying to push that stroller, it's actually a little bit easier. So if you actually let a stroller go at the top of Main Street, it could slowly roll its way down. Working our way into our first land off Main Street USA, the Crystal Palace, another opening day restaurant. Of course, it didn't have Winnie the Pooh and friends like it did prior to the closure, but Winnie the Pooh and friends aren't there right now either. Prior to the closure, the Crystal Palace is home to a 100-acre gang character buffet. So you had Winnie the Pooh and Tigger and Piglet and Eeyore, but now there are no characters there. But this is, again, another opening day restaurant. Making our way into Adventureland, the first of the lands off of the main hub of the Magic Kingdom. This exciting land has been a fan favorite since forever, obviously, and there are a couple of attractions here that have been here since the beginning. Before we head up a bunch of stairs for our first Adventureland opening day attraction, I bet you know where we're going. Gotta talk about the fact that Skipper Canteen, when it opened, was here, but it was called the Adventureland Veranda Restaurant. Now, of course, it's Skipper Canteen, which is themed after the Jungle Cruise, which, spoiler alert, we'll see that in a moment. But for now, we are headed to our first Adventureland attraction, the Swiss Family Robinson Treehouse. The Swiss Family Robinson Treehouse here was an opening day attraction, and of course it takes you into the home of the Swiss Family Robinson from the classic live-action Disney movie. When it opened, it was a B-ticket attraction, so not super fancy, and it still remains not one of the most popular attractions in Walt Disney World, but what it's good for, views. Here we go up the hundreds of steps to get up there, but Swiss Family Robinson, it's Fritz, Ernst, and little Francis and their parents were survivors from the ill-fated ship the Swallow, and from the wreckage they built their home in this tree. So you can climb up the tree, and this right here is why you climb the tree house. Look at this view. It's amazing. You've got the castle over there. Oh, fabulous. Here you've got the kids hang out, Fritz, Ernst, and Francis. We've got their library full of treasures, ship's log. That's very important. I think this might be the most important. It's the kitchen. It looks like they get a lot of fresh produce. Now, I will say some of this produce looks like it may have been here since 1971, but I don't know anything about the islands, and maybe they have longer shelf life there. Our first e-ticket attraction still in the Magic Kingdom, the world-famous Jungle Cruise, which of course is world famous for being world famous. This has been a beloved family attraction since opening day, not only here in the Magic Kingdom, but also over in Disneyland. Walt Disney's dream of having live animals on the Jungle Cruise was scrapped, and they used the mechanical animals instead. However, the spiel was very different from what we know and love today at the Jungle Cruise. It was not funny. The Jungle Cruise skippers were not making any jokes like they are today. They were giving educational information about the animals you saw as if they were real. Now, however, there were a couple skippers that got a little bored, as you might imagine, going round and around the same mechanical animals doing the same things all day long. So they started making jokes along the way. So it was actually the skippers that made this attraction funny. But what is even better, let's take it to 1998 when Disney's Animal Kingdom opened. What's the flagship attraction there? Kilimanjaro Safaris, which is a safari where you see real animals and you learn educational information about them. Because by 1998, they had the money, they had the land, and they had the ability to make sure you can see the animals. So Walt Disney thought of the Kilimanjaro Safaris long before it existed, and we still got the world-famous Jungle Cruise. We are going to take a spin on the world-famous Jungle Cruise, which you may know is going under refurbishment, like literally as the attraction's opening. They are taking out some scenes and putting in some new ones, but maintaining the classic charm of this attraction. I love this new poster. This is Alberta Falls. Jungle Cruise. It's a classic. It's been a classic. I love when an e-ticket is still an incredibly popular attraction. They just made a movie about it featuring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Jungle Cruise, a winner since day one. Here we are at our next opening day attraction. We are outside of the Enchanted Tiki Room. Now, at the time, it was called the Tropical Serenade. This show has also gone through a few iterations. Remember when it was under new management and it had Zazu and Iago? Wasn't great. It was not great, but they reverted it back to Walt Disney's original Enchanted Tiki Room. Now, believe it or not, while the Enchanted Tiki Room might not be the most popular attraction today, it was an e-ticket attraction when it opened, the most expensive attraction, and that's because this is the home of audio animatronics in Disneyland. Audio animatronics, like we know and love today, did not exist until the Enchanted Tiki Room. And originally it was going to be a restaurant where these audio animatronic birds were above you and you were eating down below, but two things. One Imagineer made the joke about how you don't want to eat under birds, because like, you get it. And two, they thought it would be too complex to be a show and no one would pay attention to these incredible audio animatronics above them, so they decided to just make it a show instead. Now, the original, of course, is in Disneyland, but this is an open day attraction here. It's a musical round theater show featuring over 100 different birds and plants that sing you that classic song, Tiki, 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 Tiki Room by the Sherman Brothers. So, a must-do, an absolutely fabulous attraction in Magic Kingdom. Do you think he's going to see his friends perform in the show?
Oh, buenos dias, señorita. My siestas are getting shorter and shorter. Oh, look at all the people.
Tiki Room is not a must-do or an e-ticket attraction anymore, but I always enjoy it whenever I see it. I wouldn't put it at the top of your priority list unless you're like a diehard Disney fan or you just really enjoy it, but it is such a cute show, and every time I watch it I think, these tiki birds walked so the shaman of song could run, because we wouldn't have animatronics without it, and they still hold up today. So it gives me the warm and fuzzies when I see it. What many people would consider a must-do, though, is getting themselves a Dole Whip here at Aloha Isle Refreshments. But did you know this was not always the home of the Dole Whip? This originally was the home to another Adventureland treat, a little bit on the underrated side, the Citrus Swirl. That's right, this was home to the Orange Bird, the mascot of the Citrus Swirl. In fact, Orange Bird existed before the Magic Kingdom did as a partnership between the state of Florida and the Disney company, and Orangebird was actually a meet and greet character that you could meet around here, and this is where you could get your Citrus Swirl. This was Sunshine Tree Terrace, which you probably know is now over by the front of Adventureland. As we make our way through the rest of Adventureland and on to our next land, it feels like a good time to tell you that the Polynesian and the Contemporary Resort were both resorts that opened with the Walt Disney World Resort. Those were the two original hotels, and shortly after opening day, the Fort Wilderness Campground opened up. But what you're not going to love when you hear me say is the price that it cost to stay at the Polynesian or the Contemporary when they first opened. Rooms ranged from $29 to $44 a night to stay at either the Polynesian or the Contemporary, depending on the room. For reference, you can't stay at either of those without discounts for under $500 now, so quite the price increase. Also, parking. Want to guess how much that was when the park opened? You said 50 cents. You're correct. Now parking is $25 for standard parking, so. But we have made our way to our next land. It's off to the Wild West. I'm starting to sprinkle a little bit, but that will not put a damper on our wonderful original Magic Kingdom day. In fact, we're going to use this as a nice time to go get something to eat at an original restaurant, Pecos Bill's Tall Tale Inn and Cafe. That's right, this has been serving up Tex-Mex favorites since 1971, and when I read about it online, dug a lot of dig deep into what the menus were like, and it said Tex-Mex and classics such as grilled chicken sandwiches and burgers, so basically the exact same thing it serves now. Now, Pecos Bill is one of my favorite quick services in the Magic Kingdom, and I'm glad to know that it's been around since the beginning. Another interesting story, not directly tied with Pecos Bill and Frontierland here in Magic Kingdom, but I love to tell this story. Did you know that Doritos, the chip, were actually invented in Disneyland? It was a way for them to use stale tortillas, and they ended up making Doritos. Here is my little snack. I love queso. I don't think that's shocking. And you can get just a thing of queso and a thing of chips, and then I added a little side of black beans. So I'm just gonna have like makeshift nachos because I didn't feel like the whole big heavy thing of nachos. So this is a great snack. You can also add queso for $1 to any of the items, which I absolutely recommend doing when you're here. I'm gonna get a little bean. I guess I should go queso first so it's like sticky. And get a little bean action. I like this queso because it's actually like white queso with a little bit of pepper heat, unlike plastic cheese. And then the beans are just really well cooked black beans. Standing outside of our next opening day attraction, this one might surprise you as a D ticket, the second to the top tier, the Country Bear Jamboree. That's getting a little facelift right now the day I'm shooting this, but the Country Bear Jamboree, again, opening day attraction, features animatronic bears that are going to sing you musical tunes here in Frontierland. It's a beloved classic by a lot of people. It's gone through a few different iterations over the years, but more or less it's the exact same as it was when it opened. One thing that's very interesting about the Country Bear Jamboree, it's one of the last things that Walt Disney ever saw any concept art for. Mark Davis, who's one of my favorite Imagineers, he's known for doing things that are funny, so any visual gags on like Pirates of the Caribbean, Haunted Mansion, Jungle Cruise, Mark Davis probably did those, and Mark Davis had the idea of an animatronic bear show, and they were going to actually put it in a Disney-owned ski resort they were planning on building. This was going to be the entertainment in the lobby. Of course, that never happened, and this became an opening day attraction here, but Walt Disney, on one of his last visits to the Imagineering WED Enterprises, as it was called at the time after his initials, he saw some of the concept art for Country Bear Jamboree that Mark had done, and he laughed and he told him, "Good job, Mark." Now, it was only after that moment that Mark Davis realized that was Walt Disney's way of saying goodbye, because he wasn't the kind of guy that normally said good job. He just kind of nodded his approval. So this is one of the last things Walt Disney ever saw. The Frontierland Shootin' Arcade, another opening day attraction. Anyone want to guess what level this was? 3, 2, 1. It was a B ticket attraction, so not the most expensive, but definitely not an E ticket. It has been around since the beginning. Unfortunately, it hasn't reopened since the closure. A lot of touch points on there. But the Frontierland Shootin' Arcade is exactly what it sounds like. Now you're actually shooting lasers at little scenes here on Boot Hill. But when it opened, it was actually little pellets, and they had to repaint the set every single night because of all the pellet marks from the little guns. Right now, it's 35 shots for $1. We have wrapped up everything in Frontierland, but before we cross the Mississippi River here, that's what this little Mississippi bridge is supposed to represent. Before we cross, it would not be right for us to move on without talking about Frontierland attractions that are gone but never forgotten. the Davy Crockett Canoes, C ticket. The Joe Fowler Riverboat, D ticket. And the Mike Fink Keelboats, B ticket. Forever in our hearts. All three of those were things that you could have seen right here on the rivers of America, and we will remember them from all time. Maybe not. I don't remember them. I'm not old enough, but maybe you do. What I will say though, the Liberty Bell Riverboat, it opened up on October 2nd, 1971, so it was very close to being an opening day attraction, but not quite. Additionally, Joe Fowler, who the riverboat was named after, he still has a boat. He was a Navy admiral. He is largely responsible for the designing the utilidors, which are the utility corridors underneath the Magic Kingdom. Those are the mythical tunnels under there. There are corridors under there for cast members to work, but they're not actually tunnels because you can't build tunnels in Florida because swamp. So it's actually a full first-story building, and you are walking on top of it on a second-story building. The whole Magic Kingdom is a second-story building, and Admiral Joe Fowler, Navy Admiral, designed that very intricate system we are walking on top of right now, and one of the ferry boats that gets you from the Transportation and Ticket Center to the Magic Kingdom is named the Admiral Joe Fowler. So don't feel bad for Joe. He lives on. Welcome to Liberty Square, the next land on our tour. And the first thing we see here, two dining establishments that have been around since the beginning, the Diamond Horseshoe Saloon and the Liberty Tree Tavern. The Diamond Horseshoe used to be a show and a meal, think Hoop-Dee-Doo musical review, but now it is often used as overflow seating for Liberty Tree Tavern, or sometimes they will open it up in busy seasons and serve like chicken sandwiches and stuff, and I wish that it would come back as a delightful show. The Liberty Tree Tavern is themed after the American Revolution with 6 different themed rooms to dine in, each named after a classic patriot of the American Revolution, like Thomas Jefferson, no, not David Diggs, or George Washington, no, not Chris Jackson. I'm talking about the real presidents. It is an all-you-care-to-enjoy feast. It's always been something inspired by different locations in America. They've always done things like chowders and other notable American classic dishes, but now it is an all-you-care-to-enjoy, basically Thanksgiving meal. So when you eat here, you get pot roast, you get turkey, you get pork, you get macaroni and cheese, stuffing, green beans. They're fabulous ooey gooey toffee cake. You may not know that the Liberty Tree Tavern is actually named after this very tree right here. This is called the Liberty Tree. It has 13 lanterns hanging on it to represent the 13 original colonies, and the Liberty Tree in colonial times was used by gentlemen, classic, as a place to gather and discuss politics in the upcoming revolution. Walt Disney loved the idea of a Liberty Tree, and he wanted one in Liberty Square, and he himself picked out this very oak tree over by where Animal Kingdom sits today, and he had to have his Imagineering team figure out a way to move this live oak tree over to the Magic Kingdom all those miles away. An Imagineer named Bill Evans, he's also responsible for all the horticulture over at the Jungle Cruise, figured out how to move the tree. When the tree got diseased, he figured out a way to save that too, and it remains still an over 100-year-old live oak tree sitting here in the Magic Kingdom. Now what's really neat about this tree is, like I just said, we are actually sitting on the second story of a building. We're over top the utilidors right now, which means this live tree is not even really planted in the ground. It's planted in a gigantic planter. Because of this incredible horticulture feat, the Liberty Tree remains the symbol of Disney's horticulture team. You can see it on their uniforms to this very day. If there's one e-ticket attraction on this list that has stood the test of time, it's this one. The Haunted Mansion. Welcome, foolish mortals. I know you love it. Everybody loves it. It's the most iconic and cult-beloved attraction in all of Disney history, the Haunted Mansion. Again, opening day attraction. Why else are we talking about it? It opened up 2 years earlier in 1969 in Disneyland, but while they were making that one, they knew it was going to be a hit. They knew it was going to go here in the Magic Kingdom, so they actually built the Haunted Mansion, 2 of them at a time. They do have slightly different features. This one's a Gothic upstate New York manor, whereas that one is in New Orleans Square, so it's like a haunted plantation home, but still, this is beloved and a home to those 999 happy haunts, but there's room for 1,000. Any volunteers? If Haunted Mansion is one of your favorite attractions, or you're enjoying me just nerding out about Disney history and fun facts and things like that, I actually did a whole video just on the Haunted Mansion and the backstory, how this came to be, the Imagineers, a couple really cool details and things to look for at this attraction. So we will link that video for you because there's way too much to say and we got way too much other great things to do in the Magic Kingdom. Liberty Square is home to a second opening day attraction, the Hall of Presidents. This was a D-ticket attraction, and this was also one Walt Disney dreamt up but never got to see. He loved American history, and he had this dream of being able to go to a show where every previous U.S. president would be there to greet you and present something on U.S. history. Of course, the technology didn't exist for this at the time when Disneyland opened, but they first developed it for the 64-65 New York World's Fair, where they made great moments with Mr. Lincoln, who was Walt Disney's personal favorite president. But when they built Liberty Square at the Magic Kingdom, again, Walt Disney's idea, he actually wanted to have a street off Main Street at Disneyland called Liberty Street where this attraction could be, but they made it a whole land here at the Magic Kingdom, and they built the Hall of Presidents as an opening day attraction at this park. It has all 45 presidents, including current President Joe Biden. It just actually opened up recently with his audio animatronic. So this is a very, very interesting show if you're into U.S. history, or if you just want to be dazzled by all these animatronics. This is a very cool place to come check out if you are a U.S. history buff at all. A lot of people don't realize this is actually a federally recognized United States presidential museum. And then they also have all of these artifacts from actual presidents that have been donated by the presidents or by their foundations. Abraham Lincoln's portable writing desk from 1840, anyone? Okay. Oh, you're not dazzled yet? Hold on. Look at Teddy Roosevelt's saddle. Dinner plates from George Washington. You're impressed. I'm impressed. Now, I don't recommend this to everyone either. It's a long show. It's over 20 minutes long. And if you don't care about American history or the American presidents, you're probably not going to love it. What I do think is amazing, though, is those audio animatronics. When that curtain lifts and you see all 45 of them, and then they introduce each one, and they all will turn to look at whoever's being introduced and nod. And if you watch the animatronics, they will check their pocket watch or tap their foot or nod along. So technologically, it's very, very incredible. I still think these audio animatronics are amazing. Even though some of them were built in the 70s. Moving right along into the land of fantasy for dreamers. Young and young at heart, we have made it into Fantasyland, which remains the most attractions in one place. But let's give a shout out to another one of our gone but not forgotten, forever in our hearts attractions. Here where the Tangled Bathrooms are, the most beautiful bathrooms you ever did see. This used to be one of the stations for the Magic Skyway. Do you remember the Magic Skyway, those buckets that took you from Fantasyland to Tomorrowland? Forever in our hearts. But now, you can go to the bathroom in a really cool Rapunzel-themed bathroom, so who's winning? Our next opening day attraction, an iconic classic, the happiest cruise that ever sailed. It's a Small World. This one made its debut at the 64-65 New York World's Fair, and it has become an iconic classic ever since. It's got that song that is going to get stuck in your head for the rest of time, but just embrace it. It's a Small World by the Sherman Brothers, and it says that beautiful message that even though we're from all over the place, it's a small world after all. We're not that different, you and I. Now, this was an E-ticket attraction, the top tier attraction when the park opened in 1971, and it's still very beloved today, whether that be because of that iconic song, because people remember going on it with their parents or their grandparents, or just because it's a feel-good, wonderful, magical time. We don't know. All the above, probably. It's a Small World is getting a fabulous color makeover for the 50th anniversary. These pops of color are coming into that iconic Mary Blair artwork right here. Mary Blair was the lead Imagineer and the artist behind this. You know her style from this attraction, that very happy, bright use of color. And I love, love, love this addition. The next attraction on our list is a little dicey because technically it's not an official opening day attraction. They had issues with it, so it didn't actually open until October 3rd, and that's Peter Pan's Flight. But Disney put it on their commemorative 40th anniversary map of the 1971 map. They made a map that you could get on the 40th anniversary, where on one side it was the current map, the other side was the 1971 map, and Disney has that on file, and they put Peter Pan's Flight on it. So it's usually thought of as an opening day attraction, even though, again, technically it didn't open until 2 days later. But what's going to blow your mind about Peter Pan's Flight is that it was only a C-ticket attraction. That's right, Haunted Mansion, It's a Small World, those were both E-tickets, but Peter Pan's Flight, one of the most beloved and cherished and longest lines in the park still to this day, was only a C-ticket. Pinocchio's Village Haas, the quick service location, that was also an opening day restaurant. The Haas has been here all day long, and right across from the Haas in the central plaza of Fantasyland we have Prince Charming Regal Carousel, which is yet another opening day ride. Now, when Prince Charming Regal Carousel opened with the Magic Kingdom, it was an A-ticket attraction, so the lowest level of attraction. And even though the park and the ride opened in 1971, this Carousel is actually from 1917. Isn't that amazing? Of course, Cinderella Castle has been around since the beginning. A couple fun facts about Cinderella Castle. There are exactly 0 bricks inside of it. It is made completely of fiberglass. They use that forced perspective again. You'll notice that the bricks and the spires are bigger down at the bottom, but they get smaller up towards the top to make it look taller than it is, because it's actually only 189 feet tall. At the time, if anything was over 190 feet tall, you had to put a big red flashing airplane beacon on the top so that airplanes didn't hit it. Obviously, that would ruin the illusion. That would not look very good, so they put just under the mark at 189 feet. Now, since the 1970s, that elevation has gone up. You can actually put things up to 200 feet tall. At 200 feet, you have to put that flashing airplane beacon, which is why Tower of Terror and Expedition Everest sit at 199 feet tall, making them the tallest attractions in Walt Disney World. Some of you may know that Cinderella's Royal Table is a restaurant inside of Cinderella Castle. It's actually up on the 2nd story, and pre-closure it was character dining with the princesses. But you may not know that Cinderella's Royal Table has existed since the park opened in one form or another. When it first opened, it was actually called King Stephen's Table. That's right, when this park opened, the restaurant inside Cinderella Castle was named after Sleeping Beauty's dad for some reason. So they changed it to Cinderella's Royal Table, and then eventually they made it character dining as well. In addition to Cinderella's Royal Table, there is actually a small apartment hotel room up inside Cinderella Castle, up on the 3rd story. Originally, that space was going to be an apartment for Walt Disney and his family. He has an apartment over the fire station in Disneyland, so this was going to be the equivalent here. However, since Walt Disney passed away, it was originally the phone operator's office. So if you called Disney in the early 70s, you were talking to someone sitting in Cinderella Castle. They quickly outgrew that. It became a green room for stage shows. It became a storage room. And then for the Year of a Million Dreams sweepstakes, they actually turned it into the Cinderella Castle Suite, where you could win a night in Cinderella Castle. Nowadays, that suite does still exist. It's owned by marketing, so they'll use it for different things like promotional giveaways. Occasionally, they'll do it for Make-A-Wish. You can kind of see the windows up there, but the only other way to get into the castle and not even stay there is to book yourselves on the $12,000 tour. I have been lucky enough to go up in the castle suite. When I worked in guest relations, we were the concierge for people staying up there. It's absolutely stunning. It's absolutely amazing. So if you do ever get the chance to go up there, you'll be really, really amazed. And speaking of that $12,000 tour, you could do a guided tour of the Magic Kingdom when it opened. It ran for a whopping $6.50 per adult. Today, VIP tours, so this is different than that $12,000 specialty tour, but VIP tours, they're good for up to 10 people. They do have usually a 6-hour minimum, however, and for those up to 10 people, it's up to $750 an hour, depending on what season you book it in. Next up, everybody's favorite to do after lunch, the Mad Tea Party. The teacups were, of course, an opening day ride here. They weren't covered, though. You may remember them before they were covered, and they were a C-ticket attraction. That's right, Peter Pan's Flight and the teacups were considered the same level of attraction, which is pretty surprising considering the teacups rarely has that long of a wait now, and Peter Pan's Flight has maintained its popularity. I do think the teacups are a rite of passage, though. You have to take a spin on them. Maybe just don't spin them that fast if you've had lunch or you get dizzy, but I feel like every kid's got to ride the teacups, right? Our last opening day ride here in Fantasyland, well, now it's technically in Storybook Circus, Dumbo the Flying Elephant. Dumbo the Flying Elephant, again, opening day attraction. This was another C-level attraction, so the same as Teacups, same as Peter Pan's Flight, and for many, many years, you probably remember Dumbo sitting over right behind the carousel in the middle of Fantasyland. It wasn't until the 2012 expansion that they moved it over here, added a dueling Dumbo, doubling the capacity, and adding in that super cool interactive playground queue area. I know I've said quintessential and iconic like 1,400 times in this video already, but Dumbo is yet another one. I feel like it's a rite of passage to go on Dumbo. I feel like you're legally required to take your kids on Dumbo the first time you come here. I don't care how old you are, and if you're like me, you've got a favorite Dumbo. I like that purple and orange Clemson Dumbo. Before we officially say goodbye to Fantasyland, you know what time it is. The in memoriam for those Fantasyland attractions that could no longer be with us. Snow White's Adventures, C-Ticket, Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, C ticket. Again, the Magic Skyway. D ticket. The Mickey Mouse Review. E ticket. And 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. E ticket. We have made it to the world of tomorrow. We are in the future, friends. And last but certainly not least of our opening day attractions, the Tomorrowland Speedway. Now in 1971, this was called the Grand Prix Speedway, but it was the same attraction where you can ride or drive yourself in one of these little motorized cars around the track through Tomorrowland. I know, driving a race car is very futuristic. You have to be 32 inches to ride this one, but 54 inches to drive alone. So if you're 32 inches, you probably can't reach the pedals, but you can ride with mom or dad and you can steer and let them push the pedals. When the Grand Prix Speedway opened, it was a C ticket attraction. So again, the same as Peter Pan's Flight. I'm gonna keep saying that. Peter Pan's Flight was the same as the Tomorrowland Speedway. This is not a must-do for most people when they come to Magic Kingdom, at least not most people my age, because you know what I can do? Drive an actual car. I actually can drive an actual car much better than I can drive these. I'm literally trash at driving these cars. But you know who loves this? People that can't drive cars like little kids. My nephews were obsessed with this attraction. So if you've got little ones, it doesn't usually have too long of a wait, and it's a great attraction for them. As we finish our walk through our final land here at the Magic Kingdom, I just want to say one more time that you will forever be in our hearts. And yeah, I'm talking to you, Magic Skyway Station here in Tomorrowland, D ticket. And I'm talking to you, Flight to the Moon, D ticket. Thank you for your service. Rounding things out in Tomorrowland, there were 2 dining locations, the Lunching Pad as well as the Tomorrowland Terrace. Lunching Pad was in a different location, but Tomorrowland Terrace was here, and both of those were opening day dining locations in Tomorrowland. Well, friends, I hope you enjoyed this tour of yesterday here at the Magic Kingdom. It's kind of fun to think about how much is the same and yet how much has completely changed in the 50 years that this park and this resort has been open. Share your favorite opening day attraction that's still around down in the comments, and stay tuned for so many videos. We are right now, as you're watching this, out in the park covering all of the brand new entertainment, all of the brand new fun that is coming for the 50th anniversary. We've got new fireworks shows, new attractions, golden statues. It's going to be great. So stay tuned for all those videos and check out our website as well. In the meantime, friends, make sure to rate, review, subscribe to our channel, follow us on social media at AllEars.net, and until next time, y'all, I'm Molly, and it's been magical. Hey, it's Molly here. Want to see more of my videos? Click over here. Want to subscribe? You can do that right here. And also, ring that notification bell to make sure you get instantly notified anytime we post a new video. Thanks for following. See you real soon.